Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy the videos and please engage in the conversation that goes on. That's one of my favorite things here. That a lot of folks seem to be adding input, which is great. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It's free, and it's this way you get notified when new videos come up, and it really helps me out with my standing with Google. Okay, so we're going to focus this video on the Noreaster, and I will also cut a long-range video because I looked at the long range and it looks pretty interesting. So we're going to take a look at that in a separate video that I'll put up after this one. Now, everything seems on course with regards to this Noreaster. No problems until late Sunday afternoon. Now, my primary forecast focus is New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, Hudson Valley, Connecticut, Long Island, and New York City, of course. So I'm going to try and broaden it a little bit with regards to how with the Noreaster's impact. First off, lots of rain coming up the Carolinas into Virginia, so their drought keeps lessening. Here's our low center, which moves into western Kentucky. And actually, what winds up happening is that the center just kind of jumps around. You see this little stretch here, how the isobar stretches out. I'll draw in the fronts for you so you can kind of take a look at the profile here of what it looks like in the atmosphere. There's actually a bit of a warm front, but there's a wave that's on that front. So what winds up happening is you've got this high that's up to the north. So the low, this lead little wave, which really doesn't do very much, but what it does accomplish is that it allows that high to just sort of pinch in, and it tightens the pressure gradient. What I mean by that is you have high pressure to the north, low pressure to the south, so that the large change in pressure over a relatively small distance dictates the strength of the wind. So when you see these lines close together, you have stronger winds. And as we move through time, this is Sunday afternoon. Now we're into Sunday evening. You can see that little bulge there. It's still there, but it's kind of weak because this center jumps to eastern Tennessee, and that's really where all the energy is. And what the GFS does is it kind of holds that low with the upper feature, very slow moving. That high is still pinned into the north. And what starts to happen during Monday on the northern edge of this is what we often call dirty cold air. It's not really Arctic air. It's just kind of cold air because of the seasonality, that temperatures are generally colder as you go north for the most part, and that cold air begins to bleed southward, and you get that area that you saw in the light blue and the purple being snow and sleet on the northern fringe up well north of the coastline, of course. Here's that low, and now you have that pressure gradient. The high hasn't gone anywhere, so you can see the change in the isobars, those lines of equal pressure, how they've gone from here. You see how they're far apart, but as we move into Monday, they get tighter and tighter, and then they get extremely tight Monday afternoon from southern New Jersey right up through southern New England. So right in here is where I would expect to see winds every bit of 30 to 40 miles an hour with gusts of 50 or maybe even 60 miles an hour. And you're going to see stronger winds along the coast. So this is going to also have an impact in terms of the tidal situation with coastal flooding. And I'll show you the new surge model forecast that's out for tonight. And that low kind of inches its way across West Virginia. By Tuesday morning, it's redeveloping off the Maryland-Virginia coast on the GFS. The gradient starts to shift further to the north. You can see where all the snow is. And sleet. It's way up to the north. And as I made the reference to the fact that we were talking about dirty cold air, you've got rain that goes pretty far north up the Hudson Valley into New York State and into New England. So that's kind of unusual. It's not unheard of, but it's unusual this time of year to see rain that far north. And then the low begins to pull away, but it may not be. There's still rain back on the west side. If this were a true Arctic air mass, or at least a colder air mass, you probably would see a change over to snow on the backside, but that's not going to happen. And then the low finally begins to move out as we move into Wednesday and weather conditions begin to improve. And from here, we start the process of gradually turning the pattern colder as some colder air begins to return. And again, I'll address that on the long range video that's coming up. So why don't we take a look at what we can expect in terms of wind. And I'm going to show you the 10-meter wind. So this is the forecast wind of the models. I'm going to back it up a bit here so you can see when the storm's at its peak. So this is Monday morning in the red. These are sustained winds, not gusts. The gusts are going to be higher. So you have the orange and red, and on the corresponding scale on the side, that translates to anywhere between sustained winds of 36 to 48 miles an hour from Delaware Bay up to the south shore of Long Island. And then by Monday afternoon, those winds start to shift northward, and they're very strong over Long Island to southern New England and off the central and North Jersey coast. So all of this, by the way, coming at a time, fortunately, where we're in between moon cycles. So the tides would be higher, of course, if we had a new moon or a full moon, but we're coming off the last quarter, so we're kind of coming out of a bottoming cycle in the tide. So that's a positive in terms of the tidal surge and keeping it lower than it otherwise would be. And then as we move into Monday night, the strong wind field begins to shift up into eastern New England, which is understandable. That's where the tightest gradient is. The low is still back in West Virginia. You don't have a tightly wound low center. It's a bit broad here, so that's why the gradient is pinned up further to the north. And then winds continue to diminish somewhat, and they move to the northeast. I'm going to show you the NAM model because the NAM has been fairly consistent. GFS has been a little inconsistent with its runs, the last couple of runs with this low, but the NAM has been pretty consistent here. The positioning of the surface low is a little different, but the outcome's the same. You have a low in western North Carolina that really just meanders, but you can see that wind field that develops along the New Jersey coast, and it develops a little bit later than the GFS has it, but it still has the same idea by Monday afternoon from southern New Jersey to Long Island, and then it continues into Monday evening, and then after that, you still have some strong winds into Tuesday morning. It has the low center east of Atlantic City, so the edge of the gradient is from Long Island north and east, and you can see where the strongest winds then wind up moving up into coastal New England. Now, in terms of rainfall, let's look at the NAM. In terms of total rainfall, it looks like for New Jersey a good 2 to 3 inches. For Long Island, it looks like a good 1 to 2 inches. I would just emphasize in terms of the rainfall, sometimes the model doesn't do, it gets the idea that there's going to be some heavy rains, but it doesn't often get the geography right. So it's quite possible that this band of heavy rain, the 2 to 3 inch rains plus, will extend also into southern New England and Long Island. Also, we only go out to Tuesday morning here, 4 a.m., so there's likely to be more rain to be added to those numbers anyway after that time period. When we go to the GFS, and I'll switch over to that, and let's see what the GFS has to say. I'm looking at it for the first time. So it's got generally 1.5 to 2.5 inches worth of rain. So look, if we wind up, lately we've been doing better than what the models have been forecasting, so hopefully from the drought standpoint, we'll finish on the upside. Now, as far as snow is concerned, I'll show you the total snowfall on the GFS. You notice that it really doesn't come that far south. It's basically, you start to move up into upstate New York, parts of northeastern Pennsylvania. I think a lot of this in the southern end is going to wind up being elevation driven. So the higher up you are, the more you'll get, but you're going to have to go pretty far north, northern Connecticut, and in the Hudson Valley, not too far south from Interstate 90 looks like where the line may be, at least according to the GFS. And we'll look at the NAM, and the NAM has been putting amounts further south. I still don't quite get it, but I don't understand why the NAM has been consistently doing this. I hope I don't find out. I hope I don't find the answer out when it actually happens that this winds up being the case. Because if you look at the NAM, it's producing 6-inch amounts across northern New Jersey, and the coding to an inch line down to almost to Route 195 in central New Jersey, and even into New York City and into Connecticut and the Hudson Valley, showing accumulating snows of several inches. Now, again, I'm not sure why it's doing this. It isn't that cold. On the other hand, it isn't that warm. And I don't know if it's saying that between dynamics and elevation, there's going to be some very heavy snows further to the south than what some of the other models are forecasting. I'm going to keep a watchful eye on this because it's a little disconcerting for me to see to see something like that this late in the game, because everything synoptically, everything we look at here meteorologically would say that this is just too far south. But we'll watch it again tomorrow. Now I have a new storm surge forecast, and it's changed a bit. It's actually gotten a little higher in terms of the storm surge, a little lower along the New Jersey coast. I think the reason why is because the wind fetch is going to be maybe a little more easterly than northeasterly, at least initially. So that increases the tidal surge issues for the north central part of the Jersey coast up to Sandy Hook, and also for Nassau County on Long Island. You can see there's a storm surge here forecast of the first. This is 1 to 2 feet. This is 2 to 3 feet. So this is 3 to 4 feet. It also has a little 3 to 4 foot bubble here in Long Island Sound, but it actually also has a 4 to 5 foot surge in New York Harbor, where the water will tend to pile on and get trapped. So we're going to have to watch that closely as well. So no weather issues with regards to regards to this until late Sunday night, when weather conditions start to deteriorate, and Monday into Monday night looks like the worst of it. So thanks for being here. Leave your comments. They are always welcome, and I will respond to them. Sometimes I don't get to them right away, but I do try to get to every comment on every video that's posted. You can download my app and subscribe to my forecast for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. The link will come up here on the video as well. The app is free, and the subscription is just $1 a month. And you get me. You do not get icons. You do not get a computer-generated forecast, which is what almost all weather icons are. You get my specific forecast and my reasonings behind it, written in English with satellites, radars, and much more. So everybody have a great weekend, and we will keep you abreast of the developing situation with regards to this nor'easter that's setting up for the very beginning of next week.